growing debate, it says here, in the auto industry. Has the nation hit peak truck and SUV demand, and are sedans making a comeback?
I wouldn't say they're making a comeback, but the Dave Canton Group, which specializes in M&A within the auto industry, they put this idea out a couple of weeks ago, peak truck. And by that, the claim that some are making is that we're not going to sell any more SUVs and crossovers market share-wise than what we do right now.
While expensive new trucks dominate the showroom floor, a small crew of budget-built machines are proving something remarkable. They last longer, no ads, no hype, just engines that refuse to quit. While new trucks break under pressure, these survivors cross 1 million miles without blinking. Why haven't you heard of them? What makes them unstoppable? And how can you get one before they vanish for good? This is not just a list, it's your ticket to truck immortality. Toyota Land Cruiser 80 Series. The off-road immortal. It starts in Colorado with a man named Mike and a truck that refuses to die. Parked outside his cabin, buried in snow for half the year and baked by mountain sun the other half, sits a 2001 Toyota Land Cruiser with an odometer frozen at 487,000 miles. The number stopped climbing, not because the truck quit, but because the digital display simply gave out. Mike still drives it weekly. The engine still runs quiet. The transmission still shifts with authority. Mike bought it 5 years ago for $3,800. It already had over 380,000 miles on it, but he knew something that most people overlook. This was not just a sport utility vehicle. It was a piece of engineering born for war zones, deserts, and mining camps. Toyota built the 80 Series Land Cruiser in a time when durability was a sacred obligation, not a marketing bullet point. This particular model was designed for Australian mining firms that needed a vehicle to survive punishing 24-hour shifts, day in and day out. What makes it legendary isn't a gimmick or a trend. It's the mechanical decisions baked into its bones. The inline 6-cylinder engine was engineered with thick cylinder walls, oversized cooling channels, and forged steel components meant to outlive the chassis. The oil passages are so wide they've earned jokes about being able to pour syrup through them without clogging. The head gasket is double thick, the drive shaft overbuilt, and the axles almost cartoonishly tough. Nothing about this truck was built to meet a price target. Everything about it was designed to survive the unimaginable. Even now, Mike tows a trailer through the Rockies with it. He changes the oil every 3,000 miles and inspects the differential twice a year. The interior is tired, the seats are torn, the paint is oxidized, but the mechanical heartbeat remains as strong as ever. When you ask him what he plans to replace it with, he just laughs. Replace it with what? He says. But the most incredible part, he's not the only one. I've now documented over a dozen Land Cruisers from this exact generation still on the road, with original engines, original transmissions, and nothing more than standard maintenance keeping them alive. You might expect collectors to have snatched them up. Surprisingly, many still linger on local listings, often ignored because of high mileage. That's the paradox. Everyone wants reliability, but nobody trusts the numbers. So what happens when the most legendary truck in history is hiding in plain sight, ignored because it did the one thing that proves its worth? Look, we dug through forums, real owner logs, and fleet maintenance records to find these million-mile legends. Now you've got the shortcut to the trucks that actually last. If that saved you hours, hit subscribe and help us keep uncovering the ones that never die. Ford F-150, the work fleet survivor. In the back lot of a decommissioned lumber yard in Iowa, there's a Ford F-150 that looks like it lost a fight with every season known to man. The paint is faded to primer gray. The tailgate rattles when you breathe near it. Yet when the key turns, the inline 6 purrs like a machine with something to prove. This isn't a rare case. Across the Midwest and Southwest, F-150s with the 4.9-liter inline 6-cylinder and the 5.0-liter Windsor V8 engines are still moving hay bales, pulling trailers, and clearing snow. What makes them special is their simplicity. The 4.9-liter engine is often called the most reliable gas engine Ford ever made, not because it was glamorous, but because it never tried to be. No turbos, no direct injection, no complex timing systems, just cast iron blocks, steel rods, and a throttle body that can be cleaned with a toothbrush. When paired with a manual transmission, this drivetrain becomes almost invincible. Mechanics will tell you they rarely fail catastrophically. Instead, they wear slowly, giving you warning signs miles before they break. That's the mark of honest engineering. It doesn't just run, it tells you how it's feeling. There's a reason these engines were used in airport shuttle vans, ambulances, and delivery trucks through the 1980s and 1990s. They were built for uptime. Fleet operators chose them not for luxury, but because downtime was unaffordable. The trucks had to run, rain, or shine. snow, or dust. One former fleet mechanic told me his yard kept 4 of these trucks with over 600,000 miles each, all running on original blocks. The trick: oil every 3,000 miles, transmissions flushed every 30,000, belts, hoses, and plugs checked by calendar, not failure. What surprises most people is that these trucks are still out there, cheap, because they're not pretty. You'll find them with mismatched panels, rusted beds, and dashboards faded to white, but the internals still humming. This is the kind of truck you buy when you care more about getting somewhere than being seen. It's the working class legend, the unkillable mule. Yet, just when you think American durability reigns supreme, there's a truck on this list that took Japanese precision and beat everyone to the finish line. It didn't just run forever, it was built to prove that forever was possible. That's what we're talking about next. Toyota Tundra first generation, 4.7-liter V8. The engine Toyota could not kill when Toyota decided to challenge American dominance in the full-size truck market in the early 2000s. They did not bring chrome or clever slogans. They brought substance. Their entry into this fiercely loyal segment was a machine centered on a single mission: survive everything. At the heart of that mission was the 4.7-liter I-Force V8, an engine now regarded by mechanics and truck owners alike as one of the most unkillable power plants ever fitted into a pickup. Victor's truck, sitting quietly in a dusty lot just outside Santa Fe, told the story better than any advertisement could. His 2002 Tundra had logged 1,027,000 miles. Not once had the engine been rebuilt. The transmission, still original. Even the valve covers remained sealed, untouched by time or turmoil. This truck had hauled livestock, pulled trailers, carried dirt, and worked in punishing desert heat without skipping a beat. And the reason it had lasted that long was not luck. It was design. Toyota had pushed the I-Force engine to its limits before it ever reached a dealership lot. They put it through 1 million miles of stress testing, not in labs, but on the road, fully loaded, running uphill, crossing state lines, and enduring terrain most trucks never see. Their engineers were not just building a motor, they were proving a point. That point was simple: build with pride, or do not build at all. The engine itself is a mechanical fortress. Its cast iron block is overbuilt by modern standards. The 6-bolt main bearing caps keep internal components locked tight under extreme stress. A timing belt replaces the usual chain, allowing for quieter operation, but requiring precise engineering to maintain long-term durability. Even the oil pump is gear-driven, far more durable than chain or belt designs, and the oversized radiator and alternator are designed to handle full loads in sweltering conditions without a single complaint. Open the door and you see the same philosophy in the cabin. Victor's seat had been reupholstered, sure, but the rest still functional. Power windows, heating and air conditioning, the factory stereo, all still operational more than 20 years later. The dashboard does not creak. The plastics have not cracked. Every knob and switch does what it was designed to do without hesitation or drama. So what is the secret that keeps these trucks out of the spotlight and within reach of smart buyers? Mileage. Most people do not trust a vehicle with 250,000 miles on the clock. Yet a well-maintained Tundra can easily be found for under $8,000. That may sound high, but when you compare it to today's $70,000 pickups that struggle to make it past 150,000 miles without a major issue, it is a downright bargain. Victor told me his next goal was 1.5 million miles. He did not say it with a smirk or a boast. He said it like a man who knew something the rest of us did not. And when you have sat in a Tundra like his, felt the engine settle into a silent idle, and heard no squeaks or rattles from 20 years of hard work, you believe him. Our next truck tells a completely different story. It has no power accessories, no luxury, no pretense, just steel, sweat, and the kind of mechanical honesty that makes it virtually impossible to kill. Nissan Hardbody D21, the cockroach truck. This is not a truck that fits into modern car culture. It does not post well on social media. It does not belong in valet lines or off-road festivals. What it does do is work every single day, across continents, cultures, and climates. The Hardbody keeps showing up, keeps hauling, and keeps proving that simplicity, when done right, is not a weakness. It is a superpower. In a dry corner of Arizona, Carlos keeps driving his 1996 D21 as if time never passed. He bought it new when he was 23. He is now in his early 50s. That truck has been with him longer than most friendships. The odometer? 585,000 miles and counting. He has changed the clutch twice, replaced the water pump once, swapped out the starter motor after 300,000 miles. The engine, a KA24E, has never been cracked open. The 5-speed manual still slots into gear with only the slightest hint of wear. What is behind that kind of endurance? The Hardbody was engineered with one goal: don't die. The KA24E inline D194 is a marvel of mechanical restraint. No turbochargers, no variable valve timing, just reliable fuel injection, oversized components, and a layout that made sense to human hands. Underneath, it runs a solid axle rear with stiff leaf springs, capable of hauling concrete blocks without complaint. The body, thick steel. The frame, fully boxed in key stress points. That frame does not bend unless you are trying to break it. Service access is excellent. Changing the oil, replacing belts, or even swapping out the starter can be done with simple tools. No lift and no specialized knowledge. That makes it a favorite in developing countries, rural farms, and even inner-city delivery routes where downtime is not an option. Its value comes from something you cannot measure on a spec sheet: owner loyalty. Carlos is not just a man with a truck. He is a man with a system. In his glove box is a black 3-ring binder. Inside are every oil change, every part number, every service invoice since 1996. There are diagrams, torque specs, even hand-drawn notes from a trusted mechanic he knew in his 20s. That level of care is rare, yet it is exactly what allows these trucks to survive long past their expiration date. They are still affordable, but the window is closing. A rust-free D21 with a full maintenance record can still be found for under $4,000, though it may require patience. The demand is slowly climbing, not because of hype, but because of reality. More people are realizing that a simple, well-built machine will always outlast a complicated, flashy one. The Hardbody does not need your admiration. It does not need fanfare. It needs gas, basic maintenance, and a reason to keep going. That is why it is the cockroach of the truck world. Quiet, tenacious, and nearly impossible to kill. Up next is a truck you have likely passed on the highway without a second thought. It does not scream durability. It does not look like a million-mile machine, yet behind its modest design is a powerhouse, trusted by emergency services, and built to survive punishment no sports truck could endure. Let us explore the unsung General Motors workhorse that thrives behind the curtain. Chevrolet Silverado, 2003, 2500 6.0-liter Vortec. Heavy duty without the headaches. If you ask someone to name the most dependable heavy-duty truck of the early 2000s, they might talk about Cummins diesels or Ford Power Strokes, but those engines came with a price, complexity, cost, and a steep learning curve for maintenance. Meanwhile, in the background, the Chevrolet Silverado 2003 2500 with the 6.0-liter Vortec quietly built a legacy that outlived the hype. This truck was not flashy. It did not promise cutting-edge tech or boast record-setting tow ratings. What it offered was something far more valuable: long-term reliability with minimal complications. General Motors did not design the 6.0-liter V8 to win drag races. They built it to survive abuse. The iron block alone weighs more than some compact cars. The internals are overbuilt in every sense: thick rods, conservative compression, and a cam profile designed to favor durability over horsepower. The cylinder heads feature cathedral ports, optimizing airflow while maintaining torque at low and mid ranges. Perfect for work trucks pulling trailers or loaded with gear. Paired with a 4L80E transmission in many configurations, this drivetrain became a gold standard for work reliability. I met Angela, a firefighter based out of northern Minnesota, who uses a 2004 Silverado 2500 as her daily driver. Her truck originally served in a Duluth Fire Department fleet. For years, it idled through sub-zero nights, carried emergency supplies, and responded to disasters. When it was finally decommissioned at 420,000 miles, Angela bought it for $5,000. Today, it sits at just over 810,000 miles. The engine has never been rebuilt. The transmission has never been replaced. She follows a strict maintenance schedule: oil every 5,000 miles, coolant flush every 2 years, and transmission service every 40,000 miles. The truck just keeps running. What is remarkable is how easy it is to keep this truck alive. No turbochargers mean fewer heat-related failures. No active fuel management system means no lifter collapse. The emissions systems are simple. The engine bay is wide open. You can reach every critical component without removing a fender or disassembling half the front end. The alternator, water pump, and starter motor can all be replaced with basic tools. Even the engine control module is easily swappable without dealer reprogramming. These trucks were popular with municipal fleets, fire departments, and rural contractors for exactly this reason. They could be repaired in the field, in a barn, or even on the roadside if necessary. And because General Motors sold so many of them, parts availability remains excellent across North America. Junkyards are full of donor engines, transmissions, axles, and body parts. Aftermarket support support remains strong, not for upgrades, but for sustaining long-term use. That is something no touchscreen or massaging seat will ever deliver. Angela has outfitted her Silverado with a custom flatbed, upgraded the alternator for winter electrical loads, and installed auxiliary heating. She says it starts every time, even when the temperature drops below -20. She trusts it with her safety. She trusts it with her life, and that trust was earned, not sold. The best part? You can still find these trucks for reasonable money. Models with higher mileage often sell for under $7,000. Many come from state auctions, utility companies, or fleet liquidations. The odometer might scare off casual buyers, but anyone who understands how these trucks are built knows better. A well-maintained unit with 300,000 miles is not worn out. It is broken in. This kind of no-nonsense engineering is becoming rare. Trucks today come with 10-speed transmissions, electronic lockers, variable geometry turbos, and drive-by-wire systems that require dealer diagnostics for even basic service. The Silverado 2500 from this era avoids all of that. It is a mechanical workhorse that simply exists to perform. Next, we pivot to something a little smaller, but just as formidable, a mid-sized truck that punches far above its weight class thanks to clever engineering, overbuilt internals, and a fan base that refuses to let it fade away. Toyota Tacoma, 1995 to 2004, 3.4-liter V6, the lightweight powerhouse. This beast of a truck, especially the first-generation models built between 1995 and 2004 with the 3.4-liter 5 VZFE V6 engine, is more than just a reliable truck. It is a lifestyle tool. Whether it is climbing rocky switchbacks in the Mojave Desert, parked next to a campsite deep in Colorado, or commuting through snowy backroads in New Hampshire, the Tacoma earned its cult following by doing one thing few modern trucks can claim: it just keeps going. The secret begins under the hood. The 5 VZFE is a cast-iron closed-deck block that was originally engineered for heavier Toyota and Lexus SUVs. It features a non-interference valve train, which means if the timing belt fails, the engine will not self-destruct. That timing belt is easy to replace, with no need to drop the engine or disassemble complex timing covers. Most owners report that these engines run smoothly well past 500,000 miles, with nothing more than routine fluid changes, belt replacements, and occasional valve cover gaskets. Jeremy, a lifelong Utah resident and backcountry explorer, drives a 2001 Tacoma with 563,000 miles. He bought it used at 170,000 miles. Since then, it has crossed the Mojave Road multiple times, towed trailers through Montana winters, and survived rollover-grade side winds in Wyoming. Despite all that, the engine and transmission remain original. The only major repair was a frame replacement under a Toyota recall for rust, performed at no cost. This generation of Tacoma thrives on balance. It is light enough to reduce strain on components, but tough enough for serious work. It uses body-on-frame construction with a simple live rear axle and leaf springs. Four-wheel drive models feature manual transfer cases and real mechanical engagement, not electronic selectors prone to failure. There are no air suspensions, no adaptive dampers, and no turbocharged anything. Just a rock-solid platform with zero unnecessary systems. Inside, Jeremy's Tacoma is worn but functional. The air conditioning works, the stereo works, even the original seat heaters still function. He performs all the maintenance himself and keeps a handwritten log. His philosophy is simple: treat it right and it will return the favor. What makes the Tacoma especially valuable is how forgiving it is. Overheat it once, it will survive. Skip a service, it will recover. The drivetrain tolerances are wide enough to allow for real-world abuse. Many modern trucks are engineered to tight tolerances for emissions and performance, meaning any slight failure leads to catastrophic damage. The Tacoma is not like that. It was built with the idea that its owners might not have a dealership nearby, or any dealership at all. Prices for these trucks are climbing, especially rust-free models with documented histories. A clean version can still be found for under $10,000 if you act fast, but that window is closing. Off-roaders, mechanics, and practical buyers alike are hoarding them, not for collection, but for use. They are becoming the Honda Civics of the truck world: humble, indestructible, and endlessly modifiable. These trucks are not investments. They are insurance policies against a world filled with fragile tech. When Jeremy heads into the Utah backcountry alone, he does not bring a satellite phone. He brings his Tacoma. That is all he needs. Now we turn to something that does not look like a truck at all, a vehicle often mistaken for a quirky commuter car or failed design experiment. Yet under its unassuming body lies a powerhouse engine, an unstoppable drivetrain, and a secret legacy of million-mile service. Let us uncover the surprise hero you never expected: Honda Ridgeline, the truck that outsmarted everyone. When the Honda launched it in 2006, traditional truck buyers laughed laughed. It had unibody construction. It had an independent rear suspension. It shared architecture with a minivan. Real trucks, they said, needed frames, leaf springs, rigid axles. What most people missed was that the Ridgeline was engineered by the same team that built the Accord, one of the most reliable cars in automotive history. And what they created was one of the most dependable trucks ever sold in North America. The first generation Ridgeline used the J35 V6, a 3.5-liter single overhead cam engine with VTEC variable valve timing. This engine is famous for running to 400, 500, even 600,000 miles, with nothing more than routine oil changes and occasional timing belt replacements. I met Andrew in British Columbia, who bought his 2008 Ridgeline new. He now has 734,000 kilometers on the odometer, about 455,000 miles. The original engine and transmission are still in the truck. It has never needed a head gasket, never needed a valve job. It just works. What makes the Ridgeline so tough isn't just the engine, it's the packaging. The unibody construction means fewer squeaks and rattles over time. The suspension design offers better ride quality without sacrificing payload. The rear differential has a torque vectoring feature that engages both wheels in slippery conditions. It even has a hidden trunk inside the bed and a tailgate that swings sideways or folds down. Yes, it lacks towing capacity compared to heavy-duty trucks, but for most owners who need to carry tools, haul plywood, or survive the winter with confidence, the Ridgeline delivers. It quietly stacks up mile after mile with zero drama. And when you realize that most trucks don't even get used to their full capacity, it makes the argument even stronger. Prices for first-generation Ridgelines are rising, not because they're flashy, because they're consistent. A clean one with under 200,000 miles still sells for $8,000 to $12,000. Not cheap, but you're buying something that has proven itself 100 times over. And while the Ridgeline may be the final entry in this countdown, the list doesn't end here. Because what really matters is not which truck you buy, but how you treat it. Oil changes, clean fluids, respectful driving. These are what separate the trucks that die at 120,000 miles from the legends that cross 1 million. So when someone insists you need to spend $60,000 for a reliable truck, maybe just smile and hand them the keys to something that costs 1/10 as much and runs 10 times longer. Because these trucks, they're not relics. They're waiting in barns, in driveways, on back roads, still alive, still capable, just waiting for someone who looks past the odometer and sees potential. Could that someone be you? Let us know in the comments, and thanks for watching.